In a small, unassuming bedroom in Greenville, North Carolina, a teenager sat hunched over a flickering computer screen. It was 2012, and the world was beginning to change, though few realized how much of that change would be driven by the boy in that room. Jimmy Donaldson was not a child of privilege, nor was he a prodigy in the traditional sense. He was a quiet, lanky kid with a singular, burning obsession that most people, including his own mother, dismissed as a waste of time. While his peers were out playing sports or preparing for college entrance exams, Jimmy was obsessed with a mystery that no one had yet solved: the YouTube algorithm. This is the story of a young man who, through sheer force of will, psychological endurance, and an almost fanatical commitment to reinvestment, transformed himself from a lonely kid with a webcam into MrBeast, the most influential creator on the planet. To understand the scale of his success, one must first understand the depth of his early failures. For the first several years, Jimmy was shouting into a void. He uploaded hundreds of videos, commentaries on video games, tips for other creators, even just videos of himself talking, and almost no one watched. Most people would have quit after a month of 0 views. Jimmy stayed 4 years. He wasn't just playing, he was studying. He treated the platform like a grand puzzle. He would spend hours analyzing why one thumbnail got more clicks than another, or why a viewer would drop off at the 3-minute mark of a video. He was a scientist in a laboratory of digital attention, and his laboratory was a cramped bedroom with poor lighting. The turning point came not through luck, but through a test of human endurance that bordered on the absurd. In 2017, Jimmy decided he would do something so monotonous, so pointless, and so difficult to ignore that the internet would have no choice but to look. He sat in a chair and began counting to 100,000. It took him 40 hours. He didn't leave the chair. He barely ate. By the end, his eyes were bloodshot, his voice was a raspy whisper, and his mind was fraying at the edges. But when he uploaded that video, the world finally looked back. It was a breakthrough of junk content turned into a performance art of willpower. He realized that people didn't just want to be entertained, they wanted to see the impossible, or at least the incredibly improbable, executed by someone who looked just like them. However, many people get their 15 minutes of fame and let it slip through their fingers. Jimmy was different. He had a philosophy that defied the logic of typical 20-somethings. He refused to keep the money. When he received his first major brand dealer check for $10,000, his mother told him he should save it, invest it, or buy something practical. Instead, Jimmy walked outside, found a homeless man, and handed him the entire $10,000 while filming the interaction. It wasn't about ego, it was a business gamble. He realized that by giving the money away, he created a story more compelling than anything else on the platform. The video exploded. He took the revenue from that video and gave away even more. He was building a cycle of viral philanthropy that the world had never seen. As he grew, Jimmy faced a physical hurdle that could have sidelined him. He was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, a chronic inflammatory bowel condition that left him in constant pain and drained of energy. Many would have used a chronic illness as a reason to slow down. Jimmy used it as a reason to optimize. He became obsessed with his health and his schedule, ensuring that every waking minute he wasn't in pain was dedicated to his craft. He recruited his childhood friends Chris, Chandler, and others to join him. He wasn't just a YouTuber anymore, he was becoming a CEO. They moved into a small warehouse, then a larger one, and eventually a massive studio complex that resembled a high-tech movie lot. The scale of his operations began to rival Hollywood. While traditional TV networks were spending millions on sitcoms that people were losing interest in, Jimmy was spending millions on real-life recreations of Squid Game, or building a private island to give away to a random subscriber. He pioneered a new form of entertainment, the stunt philanthropy epic. But the most incredible part of his success wasn't the wealth he was generating, it was the fact that he continued to live like he was still that kid in the bedroom. 4 years, he funneled every single cent he made back into his videos. He lived in his studio. He ate the same meals. He didn't buy Ferraris or mansions, he bought more cameras, hired more editors, and funded more massive giveaways. He understood a fundamental truth of the digital age. In a world of infinite content, the only way to stay on top is to be the person who tries the hardest. His success eventually spilled over the boundaries of the digital world. He launched Team Trees, a campaign that raised over $20 million to plant 20 million trees, engaging with some of the most powerful tech moguls on Earth. He followed it with Team Seas, removing millions of pounds of plastic from the ocean. He opened Beast Burger and launched Feastables, proving that a creator could build a physical business empire that could compete with global giants like McDonald's or Hershey's. He wasn't just making videos, he was building a brand that represented a new kind of heroism, one where the hero is a guy who just wants to see how much good he can do with a camera and a clever idea. What makes Jimmy's story truly incredible is the psychological resilience it required. There were times when he was millions of dollars in debt, betting everything on a single video. If that video failed, his entire empire would have collapsed. He lived on the edge of financial ruin for years, not out of recklessness, but out of a calculated belief in his own vision. He ignored the skeptics who told him his model was unsustainable. He ignored the critics who called his philanthropy performative, pointing out that whether it was filmed or not, thousands of people were getting free eye surgeries, homes, and food. Today, the young man from Greenville is no longer just a kid with a webcam. He's a global phenomenon, a billionaire on paper who still spends his days obsessing over the color of a thumbnail or the pacing of a 3-second clip. His story is a testament to the power of the obsessive mind. He proved that, in the modern era, the gatekeepers are gone. You don't need a degree from a prestigious film school or a connection at a major network. You need a vision, a relentless work ethic, and the courage to give away everything you have in the pursuit of something bigger. Jimmy Donaldson's rise is the ultimate modern fairy tale, but it's one written in data, sweat, and millions of hours of footage. It's a story that tells every young person sitting in a dark bedroom with a dream that the world is listening, provided you are willing to speak loud enough and long enough. He didn't just change the way we watch videos, he changed the way we think about success, proving that the greatest rewards often come to those who are willing to reinvest in their dreams, until the rest of the world has no choice but to take notice. As he continues to break records and redefine what is possible, his journey remains a beacon of what can happen when a simple interest turns into a lifelong mission to change the world, one view at a time. The complexity of his operation grew to involve hundreds of employees, from world-class engineers to professional set designers. Yet, at the center of this whirlwind, Jimmy remained the same analytical, driven individual. He would often spend hours in a war room, surrounded by whiteboards covered in graphs and psychological triggers, mapping out the emotional journey of a 20-minute video. He understood that in the attention economy, the most valuable currency is the viewer's time, and he treated it with the utmost respect. He never wanted to waste a single second of a video, leading to a style of editing that was so fast-paced, it redefined the aesthetic of an entire generation. But perhaps the most profound part of his success is the ripple effect it has had on others. By making philanthropy cool and viral, he inspired a new generation of creators to incorporate giving into their business models. He turned kindness into a competitive sport. He showed that you don't have to wait until the end of your career to give back. You can make giving back the very engine of your career. This shift in perspective is perhaps his greatest legacy. It's not just about the money he gave away or the trees he planted, it's about the mindset he instilled in millions of viewers that a single person, starting with nothing but a basic computer and a massive amount of determination, can literally move the world. As we look at the landscape of modern media, the story of this young man stands out as a singular achievement. He bypassed every traditional hurdle, ignored every rule of the industry, and built a kingdom on his own terms. His journey from a quiet kid struggling with a chronic illness to the king of the internet is a reminder that incredible success isn't about where you start, but about how much you are willing to learn. how much you are willing to sacrifice, and how many times you are willing to bet on yourself when the odds are stacked against you. It is a story of a boy who decoded the logic of the world and used it to create a reality that was once considered impossible. In the end, Jimmy's story isn't just about YouTube or fame. It's about the human spirit's capacity for obsession. It's about what happens when you stop asking for permission and start providing value. It's about the kid who counted to 100,000 and, in doing so, taught us all how to count the ways in which we can change our own lives. His success is a mirror held up to the digital age, showing us that the only real limits are the ones we place on our own imagination and our own willingness to work. The screen still flickers in that room in North Carolina, but now, the whole world is watching the light. This relentless pursuit of excellence didn't just stop at entertainment. It extended into the very fabric of how he viewed human potential. Jimmy began to experiment with the idea of high proficiency. He would sleep in his office to save the 20-minute commute. He would listen to audiobooks at triple speed to absorb information faster. He surrounded himself with people who were just as obsessed as he was, creating an environment where the impossible was simply a task that hadn't been broken down into enough steps yet. This culture of extreme dedication is what allowed his channel to grow at a rate that defied all previous benchmarks of social media growth. When people look at his success today, they see the millions of dollars, the massive sets, and the global fame, but they often miss the thousands of hours of silence. They miss the years where he sat in that same chair, with the same broken headset, talking to a camera that no one was watching. They missed the moments of doubt when his bank account was at zero, and he had to decide whether to buy food or pay for a thumbnail designer. Those moments of quiet, lonely persistence are the true foundation of his empire. Success, as Jimmy proved, is not a lightning strike. It is a fire built one small stick at a time, through the coldest nights, until it is large enough to warm the world. His story also highlights the changing nature of the global economy. In the past, to reach 100 million people, you needed a television network, a satellite, and thousands of employees. Jimmy did it with a laptop and an internet connection. He represents the democratization of influence, where the quality of the idea and the intensity of the execution matter more than the pedigree of the creator. This shift has opened the door for millions of others, but Jimmy remains the gold standard, the one who paved the road through the jungle and left a map for others to follow. Despite his astronomical rise, those who know him say he hasn't changed. He still obsesses over the same details. He still gets excited about a new video idea like it's his first. This lack of cynicism is perhaps his most incredible trait. In an industry that often burns people out or turns them into caricatures of themselves, he has remained grounded, focused, and remarkably kind. He hasn't let the scale of his success distort his sense of purpose. He remains a student of the craft, always looking for the next mystery to solve, the next record to break, and the next person to help. The story of the boy who counted to 100,000 is far from over. In many ways, he's just getting started. He has his sights set on even larger goals: ending hunger, fixing the education system, and continuing to push the boundaries of what content can be. But no matter how big his empire grows, the core of the story will always remain the same. It's about a kid who refused to stop. It's about the power of focus, the importance of reinvestment, and the radical idea that the best way to get everything you want is to help enough other people get what they want. It is a narrative of the 21st century, a blueprint for the dreamers of the digital age, and a testament to the fact that with enough grit and a clear vision, any bedroom can become the center of the universe. Reflecting on the journey, one sees a pattern of escalating stakes. Each video had to be better than the last. Each giveaway had to be more life-changing. Each experiment had to be more daring. This upward spiral is what kept his audience engaged for over a decade. He never allowed himself to become stagnant. He understood that the moment you stop evolving is the moment you start disappearing. This constant state of evolution required a level of mental flexibility that few possess. He had to be willing to kill his old ideas to make room for new ones. He had to be willing to fail publicly so he could learn privately. As the years passed, his influence began to transcend language barriers. He started dubbing his videos into dozens of different languages, using the same data-driven approach to dominate international markets. He wasn't just an American success story, he was a global one. Children in India, Brazil, and Japan were watching the same boy from North Carolina, inspired by the same message of generosity and extreme effort. This global reach turned him into a new kind of diplomat, one who spoke the universal language of entertainment and empathy. His business ventures, too, were more than just ways to make money. They were experiments in brand loyalty and supply chain management. When he launched Beast Burger, he used ghost kitchens to help thousands of struggling local restaurants stay in business. During the pandemic, he turned his success into a lifeline for others, proving once again that his business model was built on a foundation of mutual benefit. He wasn't just taking a piece of the pie, he was making the pie bigger for everyone involved. In the quiet moments, away from the cameras and the screaming fans, Jimmy Donaldson is still that same kid who loves to solve puzzles. The puzzles are just bigger now. Instead of how do I get 100 views, the puzzle is how do I solve a global problem using a viral video. The stakes have changed, but the heart of the man has not. He remains a figure of intense curiosity and boundless energy, a reminder that the most incredible stories are not written by fate, but by those who are brave enough to write their own. If there is one lesson to take from this journey, it is that obsession, when directed toward a positive goal, is a superpower. Jimmy didn't have a secret formula or a magical shortcut. He had a 10-year head start of working harder than everyone else. He had the humility to learn from his mistakes and the courage to keep going when everyone told him to grow up and get a real job. His life is proof that a real job is whatever you have the passion to create and the discipline to maintain. As we look toward the future, the impact of this young man will likely be felt for generations. He has redefined philanthropy, business, and entertainment all at once. But more importantly, he has provided a real-life example of what is possible when you combine a kind heart with a fierce mind. The story of MrBeast is not just a story of success, it is a story of what happens when a person decides to see how far they can go, and in the process, takes as many people with them as possible. It is an incredible, unbelievable, yet entirely true journey of a boy from a small town who changed the world through a screen, proving that the greatest success stories are the ones that benefit the most people. The narrative of his life serves as a bridge between the old world of traditional media and the new world of creator-led industries. He proved that a single individual, armed with the right tools and a relentless spirit, could outcompete multi-billion-dollar corporations. This realization has sent shockwaves through the corridors of power in Hollywood and New York, forcing them to rethink everything they thought they knew about audiences and engagement. Jimmy Donaldson didn't just join the elite, he rendered their old systems obsolete. Behind the scenes, the logistics of his life are a whirlwind of activity. He manages a team that rivals the headcount of a mid-sized tech company. He reviews every detail, from the script to the thumbnail, with a level of precision that would intimidate most professionals. Yet, he maintains a culture of creativity and fun, knowing that his team is his most valuable asset. He invests in them as much as he invests in his videos, creating a loyalty that is rare in the high-turnover world of digital media. This leadership is yet another layer of his multifaceted success. As he moves into the next phase of his career, the world watches with bated breath. What will he do next? Will he build a city? Will he go to space? With Jimmy, nothing is off the table. He has built a brand where the only expectation is the unexpected. He has become a symbol of the infinite potential of the internet age, a living example of the fact that we are no longer limited by our geography or our background. We are only limited by the size of our dreams and the depth of our commitment to them. In a world that can often feel cynical and divided, Jimmy's story is a breath of fresh air. It is a story of hope, hard work, and the simple joy of making someone else's day better. It reminds us that at our core, we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We want to see the good guys win. And in the story of the young man from Greenville, the good guy didn't just win, he changed the game forever. The screen may be small, but the vision was always massive. And that, in the end, is what made all the difference. Through the lens of his camera, we see not just a creator, but a visionary who understood the heartbeat of the internet before anyone else. He saw the potential for connection, the power of a shared experience, and the impact of a simple act of kindness on a global scale. His journey is a testament to the fact that the most powerful tool we have is not the technology we use, but the purpose we put behind it. Jimmy used his tools to build a legacy of generosity, proving that true success is measured not by what you gather, but by what you give. The incredible story of this young man continues to inspire millions. It is a story that is still being written, with every new video and every new initiative. But the chapters already finished tell a tale of extraordinary proportions, a tale of a kid who stayed in his room until he was ready to step out and show the world what a truly dedicated human being can achieve. It is a story for the ages, a modern epic that reminds us all that the most incredible thing about life is the opportunity to make a difference. And as long as there is a mystery to solve or a person to help, you can be sure that Jimmy Donaldson will be there, camera in hand, ready to show us the way.